It's hard to understand the way that you went out. I bet you're living with a little hint of doubt. Maybe next time when you gotta show your hand, you won't cut and run, you'll finally make a stand. 'Cause I know it's true, I'm finally getting to you. We're not through. Yeah, I know it's true, I'm finally getting to you. Existential questions always get you down. All you want to know is, are we lost or found? Is there something that you feel you need to chase? I bet you thought you put me in my place. 'Cause I know it's true, I'm finally getting to you. We're not through. I know it's true, I'm finally getting to you. Yeah, I know it's true, I'm finally getting to you. We're not through. Yeah, I know it's true, I'm finally getting to you. You can run, you can hide, but inside, I'm finally getting to you. Yes, it's true. I still love you, but I am getting to you.
Stand by to initiate release sequencer. On my mark.
We're on express elevator to hell. Going down.
2, 1. Mark.
Welcome back to the Resupply with me, Guy Next Door.
Me, DK.
And me, Van.
Bringing you your weekly double tap. It's a sort of weekly double tap of all things Space Marines and Laser Force.
Weekly-ish.
I gotta change that. We
Sort of weekly, sort of double. It's really more of
Yeah.
a triple tap these days. We're playing with 2 ammos.
That's
you
right.
know. Like those crazy 7-on-7 folks do.
2 ammos. Semi-occasional double tap. You got it, Gray. You get it. You know. Hello, gentlemen. It's nice to see you. How the heck are you? What's been going
Well,
on?
we got a little red on air thing on our new
Oh
software.
yeah. Wait,
That's cool.
does that did that do that when? Oh, because it's feeding. That's pretty
It happened when
smart.
we actually went live.
That's cool. That's cool. So, if anyone's
This thing that no one else can see. This
Yeah.
radio.
so the only people that know what we're talking about is like Gray and Steve, because we got we're using a new back end and the cameras do look sharp. I'm gonna go back after this podcast and just check the quality versus what we were using for Twitch guests. We found this thing called video.ninja. If you are looking to set up a podcast or some sort of stream or anything where you need to have video guests, highly recommend using Video Ninja. It's
sponsored.
Not sponsored. Really?
Well,
Not
they
mad.
should be fucking sponsoring us after that. You just gave them a fucking blowy on the
Oh,
air right there.
you wait! I'm gonna take them to completion. So they, I got to send the link. Just use Microsoft Teams. He's such an old guy. What an old guy. So we got, I got through a message on the Broforce chat. This, we get the real double tap. We got a message through on the Broforce chat that I got with Blueson, Numel Grey, and Frosthammer. And Frosty sent through a link. He was like, "Oh boys, I found this new thing. It could be quite good for podcasts and stuff." So I've been playing with it all week, and maybe we'll go into some of that stuff because I'm trying to figure out some stuff, a way to use it for Nats. But essentially, we used to use Discord. Discord is a pain when it comes to like layout in OBS because you have to like do weird like screen grabs. Yo, what's up, Ducks? And basically, if somebody drops out of the call, you would remember from earlier on in the piece, all the cameras like freak out, and you have to like, fix that.
Which is hilarious, but irritating.
Yeah, especially when you're a professional outfit like we are. And
Totally. So fucking professional. That's us.
Yeah. So I found this other program, which I can't remember what it's called now, but it doesn't matter because they basically like fixed the issue where you got like individual outputs for your cameras. But it costs like $60 a month to use that shit. And I was tempted. We used it for like one or 2 weeks, I think, and like I was like, this would be great if you didn't have to pay as much for it. If it was like half the price, sweet. I'll we could afford it. But we don't have that many subscribers to the channel, so so then Twitch guests was announced in beta, and it basically solved all the issues. Awesome Twitch integration. The only issue is in the last couple of weeks, like there was a weird stutter. If you go back and watch last week and the week before,
and it wasn't just me talking; it was an actual stutter.
It was so.
I figure I'm gonna get to that joke before anyone else has a chance to.
Self-burn.
Yeah, and you got there quick for a change, which is nice. But
that's not what she said.
So it was awesome because you could output like camera feeds to links, and it is basically exactly what I wanted out of this thing that cost $60. Now it's free, and it's integrated with Twitch. Problem is it's in beta, and the weird camera stutter, like it wasn't happening. It wasn't happening on your guys' end. Like in the browser, everything is smooth. It's just when when you send the link to OBS, like it was just causing some issues. But it didn't start off that way. It progressed. So bring on Video Ninja. This is this has all the awesome shit from Twitch guests, and then also even more stuff. So there he is. What's up, dog? But I wanted to talk about it very, very quickly. Clearly your new setup lets you ignore people who remember to resubscribe every few months. No way, bro. You're the real MVP. Do you subscribe?
he occasionally throws us his Amazon bucks.
Oh, what a legend. Bloody legend you are. Bloody legend, Z-Maniacs. Whoever that is. You just did? Where? Just in here. No. No, that's incorrect. Sorry, you're incorrect. Yeah, probably on the phone. It's probably like...
Yeah, I just tried to do it too.
Oh, really?
I didn't...
That's so strange.
So it's not even showing up in Twitch regardless. So
yeah, because that's...
No. So don't blame Steve for this. This is a Twitch problem.
This is a Twitch problem. Fuck you guys.
That's kind of a you problem, bro.
You tried to sub earlier and it disappeared. That's so strange. That's... I wonder if that's related. That's real related. Everyone, if you wouldn't mind, just sending through some subscriptions to see if it works. Don't do that. You don't have to do that.
Now we're running a nice con.
I'll tell you what.
Good job.
Just some lights, just for you guys.
Yeah, there we go.
Somebody gif him dancing. That would be amazing. Anyway, the reason why I wanted to quickly talk about it, and I didn't realize I wanted to talk about it until you guys brought it up, is I've been playing with it because essentially, if you like anything that has access to the internet and a camera, you can go to video.ninja and you can output your camera to the internet, and it will set up a link. And the reason why this is like kind of awesome is because I've been playing with. I've got a bunch of old cell phones lying around in my house, and essentially, well, they're all ex-business. I'm not a drug dealer. They're all ex-business phones. They're all burned. Yeah, there you go. There you go, Russ.
This is evidence of the trial, right?
Yeah. But so I essentially set up like 6 different cameras, and they all output a link, and you can import them all into OBS, and yeah, like essentially have multiple cameras. But where I'm going with this is if I can boost the Wi-Fi signal at lasers, essentially, essentially we can set up a in maze camera system that feeds back to the fucking. I'm talking here.
Sorry.
But have multiple cameras set up in the maze that feeds. that I clearly you
I
guys
just want to see what it was like. I mean, it looks enjoyable.
Sorry that one of my cats is being affectionate right now.
But it means that we can set up essentially a camera switcher at Nats if I can get everything like connected to the Wi-Fi in the maze. But if I can, then we could essentially have multiple cameras set up in the maze that whoever's doing the commentary at the time can actually switch between like resupply points. And I'll have several scenes set up so you can see multiple ways into a resupply point. You can switch across to the other resupply point. You can, make the score screen bigger and have like little cameras, and then you can have a scene that has everything. So there's some really cool stuff, and all of it is free. Which
that's like a full-time job right there.
Yeah,
I don't think I'd be able to play if I'm trying to manage that.
Well, so the thing is like, there will be some people at lasers at Nats that may not have a team to play on unless we get some extra people turn up to Nats. Really, we need 2 more people to show up to Nats to have 1 more extra team. So if anyone is on the fence about coming and you want a team to play on, I've got 4 other players that you could team up with. So
looking at you, Brisbane. America's sending 2 teams. Why are you only sending 1?
Slack. Even Oakley, who no longer has a site, is sending 3 players. Then you will announce here that Tom and I are not coming. I already knew that. That's like saying, actually, never mind. But yeah, it opens things up to some really cool stuff that we can easily implement at Nats. So yeah, hopefully we can have like the first Space Marines tournament with proper Space Marines tournament with multicams in the arena. So
that would be pretty cool.
It would be dope. And it's because I've got a stream deck. It's relatively easy to set it up for whoever's commentating, because all they have to do is push a button and it'll switch to a different scene. So yeah, and I don't know. It would be really cool to do it. I hope it comes to fruition. I'd really like to do that for Nats this year. Gibbo, if you want to come over for a week and commentate, 100% do that. You should absolutely do that.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, come and offer your expertise. Plus, you can run the cameras. Yeah, double cool. But yeah. Anyway, I thought I would share that whilst it was at the front of mine because I forgot to write it down. But how are you guys doing? How's the week been? What's been going on?
I mean, it's been my week. This week has been just a continuation of the hellscape that my last couple of weeks have been. It's been more calls with corporate finance people, trying to explain why my team is, an outlier amongst other development teams, and why we actually need a different bucket of money. Um, OpEx versus CapEx discussions. It's not important. It's boring shit. But it's important in this context. Oh, fuck off, Steve-O. But yeah, so that's been my life the last few weeks. And now the kind of amusing part is this week, like the last couple days, the thing started happening that I knew was going to start happening, which was a bunch of directors in the field whose things are now not getting done because my team wasn't allowed to do the work are now starting to scream, and we're starting to get those very irate escalations. So
Usual corporate America nonsense bullshit.
yeah, pretty much. I mean, so I am hoping that here in the next couple of weeks, everything kind of resolves the way that I would like it to, but I'm not there yet. And it's like, oh, for fuck's sake. So yeah, that's been my hellscape of a couple of weeks.
That's unfortunate. That's really unfortunate. Does your hoodie have fish hooks on it?
Technically, yes, because it's an Under Armour fishing hoodie that was like, oh wait, no, this is actually great because of it actually being a base layer with a hood on it. It's great for working out.
Did you use the chook?
I knew this was going somewhere.
Dan, did you use the chook?
I don't even have fucking words for you right now.
That's apparent.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail you. That sounds shitty.
You definitely meant to derail me, you asshole.
Sorry.
You're going with this.
You're like, this fucking topic is really fucking boring.
No. I definitely have.
What can I do to make it entertaining for everybody else that isn't fan? It wasn't even entertaining for me. Okay.
Oh, Corporate Grey is right there with you. He feels your pain. He's definitely like, yeah, I'd definitely use the chook. Catch a dog of a cunt.
Corporate Grey.
Yeah, Corporate Grey.
That's not very rock star of you.
Hey, rock stars have to pay the bills too, and unfortunately, the music generally doesn't.
Corporate Grey from these 4 cubicle walls.
That's gonna be the spoken word album.
Yeah, it's an album, but it's done in like company memos. Yeah, exactly. As the eternal IT, you are the budget. Yeah, without you guys, nothing goes. Nothing works. People wouldn't be able to turn their shit on.
Hence the problem.
That seems pretty, long-sighted on their part. We stop you guys from being able to do work because it costs them too much. There's no possible flow-on effects from that at all.
There are
partitions.
Yeah, there are no possible ramifications of not having any expense budget in Q3 and Q4.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
None whatsoever.
Dick, you'd be good. You did something with your hair?
Yes, I didn't take out the color depositing conditioner that was put in earlier. I'm like, it looks pretty good like this. I'm gonna go ahead and just rinse after the show. Why not?
Why not? It looks good. I like it. It's cool. It's perfect.
Yeah, it looks legit.
Yeah, it didn't
be a new look here, but it would involve me putting in like hair gel, and that's like gross and crunchy and stuff. I just don't like it.
You didn't blue yourself, which is good.
No, you guys caught me in a great like Boston Celtics fan induced psychosis last night when we were chatting, and I was just going off about everything. The
so
team
mad.
drives me fucking insane.
So mad. My team did good. Up the Warriors. Yay. Yay sports. Right, real quick before we start talking about like Laser Force related stuff. I'm wearing this nifty hoodie. This nifty zip hoodie. Check that out. It's got my name on it.
That's pretty cool.
It's at the 76ers Celtics games. Gibbo, mate. Don't come in here with your lack of knowledge of basketball and start talking about sports. uh, yeah, so for Nats, obviously I put up a post on the tournaments page. I put up a post on the tournaments page. There is a bunch of pre-order merch happening for internationals this week. If you wanna pre-order one of the Nats t-shirts, you could do that, but you need to do that this week because the cutoff is this week. So get your orders through to me ASAP. If you want a Nats hat, which is somewhere, I don't know, around here somewhere. I think it's in the lounge. It looks like this, but it's on my head.
But on the hat.
But on the head, yeah. If you want one of those or one of these or whatever, just let me know. Oh, thanks. It's right here. It's right here. Look at this. This is what it looks like.
Thanks, producer Dan.
Thanks, producer Dan. But yeah, if you want them, send me a message and I can sort you out. Right. Guess who actually played Laser Force in the last week? Spoiler alert, it was me. You don't have to get... Oh, man, that was a hardcore finger. I heard it. I heard it pop up. That was crazy.
Yeah. Amazing, huh?
Yeah, so our good friend Virus is back home he's been home for about 3 weeks. I think he flies back like in a couple of days. So awesome. Cat gave me the finger off screen. It's been awesome having him home. Having him home has made me realize just how much I've missed my friend not living here. So it's been really cool to hang out with him and actually get to play some Laser Force with him again. Now, it wasn't at our home site in Wairau because construction is still underway. We did.
Oh, so the arena didn't end up back underwater with
that.
The
I
rain?
don't know. I haven't heard anything. I assume that I would have heard something.
I feel like no news is probably good news. I feel like the
think so.
owner probably would have let you know. Oh yeah, by the way.
Yeah, by the way, we ended up back underwater. But to be fair, there's not a whole lot. Actually, no, it would have been bad because they would have to like clean. Like take all the wall panels off and clean them all again. But yeah, I don't think that they got flooded out. There wasn't as much water as the last one, but there was still quite a bit of water. Yeah, so but we did pop in and say hi and have a look at what's going on there. And they've made. I don't think I've talked about it on the pod. I told you guys last week maybe. They haven't made any structural changes to the maze. But they have made some structural changes to the foyer and they've expanded the size of it. It looks awesome. They've put in some sliding doors for the armory so they can kind of like direct the...
Close that off.
Yeah, close it off, but also like direct traffic flow better. It's just, just really smart changes. For anyone that's
Nice.
been to the Auckland maze, they got rid of the front desk. And they actually knocked out the wall to the little kitchenette that was behind the desk.
Okay.
Yeah, so they've got rid of that. They've put a diagonal wall across where that was, and essentially the little kitchenette is now like kind of part of behind the reception desk, which I like. It looks good. Like it doesn't look like weird. How like. Having a kitchen in the middle of your reception area might. It actually looks good. Will they still have candy bars? Yes, they will, just for you. If you and Gray come and be our commentary team, I will pay you guys in candy bars for the week. You'll have a candy bar per diem.
So
But
anyway, you got to play lasers with Virus at not home site.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was gonna say, Gray, you definitely might have. But yeah, we went over to the botany site, over the Botany Paradise, and we actually got to play some Space Marines. And holy shit, I fucking they have this like elevated ramp area, and I ate shit so bad, like trying to strafe up the ramp, because I didn't get quite to the top, and then I tried to do some regular walking, and just It's great.
And it went poorly for you?
It sure did. Luckily, Virus didn't shoot me, but I got up and shot one of his teammates, and then Sam got shot by someone else. But it was, ooh boy, it was fun. It was so fun to actually play some lasers. We dropped Virus back into the resupply, which if I had my way, I would bring him over for Nats this year and put him as ammo, because he just kills it. He's all over the place. And it was refreshing. Would it be a safety hazard to have commentator in the field chasing out the players for interviews?
Yeah. Just a
Possibly.
bit.
Nah,
Just a bit.
nah, it'd be fun.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to have like a in. I reckon having a commentary in the maze would be dope. It might be a little bit loud, but it'd be really cool. But yeah, so we got to play lasers, and it felt really great. Don't be jealous. I loved it. It was really cool.
Gonna be jealous.
You should be. Be jealous.
Okay.
Okay.
I am.
It's made me even more excited about Nats, because like, boy oh boy, I can't wait to see everyone and play some like competitive Space Marines again. It's gonna be friggin' sweet. Friggin' sweet.
I agree.
Until we get my ass smashed all over the maze, my own arena.
Well,
It happens.
Won't be the first time.
we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah. But that's all I kind of got on that stuff. Do you want to start talking about the other thing?
Well, I had this idea a while ago for stats that we wish we had but can't currently get. Like, we've been able to get a lot more stuff since stuff's converted over to the TDFs, and we have the reader, we have LF stats, and now we can break down stuff like different kinds of downtime, like how much time you spent reset versus save time and all that kind of stuff. So you can see those types of things. But in trying to think about as the system evolves and we come up with some other stuff, especially like proximity data and things like that, like other types of interesting things that we could do and interesting types of stats that we can track that just might be interesting information. And so I was trying to play around with some stuff on LF stats today to look at a couple of things that had sparked my imagination from duos, only to find that LF stats was no bueno today. So the fan dashed off a quick message to somebody who may or may not be in chat to take a look at that.
And apparently it's fixed now, so.
Oh yeah, good. Well, now I'm doing the show. It's too late to check what I want to do.
That
Oh,
website,
okay.
just for posterity, lfstats.com.
Mm-hmm.
Would you
That'll be
look
the
at
one.
that? Look at that site. That's nice. It just pops up immediately. Whoa, why is my camera all fucking crazy?
Oh, the scorecard table got big and the date
Goodness.
filters are causing page outs. Okay, well, that sucks. We isolated it today. You fixed it, Russ. It's fine. It's all
Y2K,
fine.
huh? Got it.
It's all fine. You'll be fine.
So, what stats did you want to talk about?
So I had kind of 5, really maybe more like 4.5. One is the idea of assists. So I mean, you have assists in basketball and hockey. Like, you didn't yourself make the goal or the basket, but you made a play that enabled somebody else to do it. So I was trying to think of how you would define an assist in Space Marines as basically if you put down the person who is closest to the enemy medic and one of your teammates gets a hit as a result. So it's like, you may not get the medic hit, but you put down everybody else. So one of your teammates can get in and they get the medic hit. So they get the credit for the medic hit, but you get a credit for an assist because you helped them get it. Like, they might not have otherwise got in to get that medic
Interesting.
hit if you hadn't put down the enemy teammate.
Yeah, I
So-
guess. Oh, you go.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, one of the things when you said proximity data, one of the things that kind of like jumped out in my head was what the average distance you get shot from in a given game. Which ties to the medic hits. Like, as a medic, you get shot 20 times. assuming no nukes or whatever, like from what distance are you getting shot? Are you getting shot up close because people are breaking in, or are you getting shot from distance because you're popping up to do stuff?
That one's a very like, it's more prevalent in like certain mazes, specifically like. So if you take a look at Brisbane versus Auckland, there's not a lot of long shots. There's like maybe two that I can think of, and that's down like the two sides of the arena. But those ones don't really matter too much. But certainly in Brisbane, if you're standing in, let's say, New Tower as the resupply and you pop up, you can get shot from like
Several places.
from several places. Yeah, like from like even people standing in the vortex, like on the very opposite far side of the maze, can get you from there. And in fact, that's what happens a lot of times is they'll send, there'll be a scout or something floating the back of vortex, trying to shoot the resupply.
So yeah, I very much acknowledge like that particular stat. Yeah, it is going to be more meaningful in some arenas than others, for sure. I mean, like Detroit, it would probably be meaningful because there are enough long shots in Detroit for it to matter. Brisbane would definitely be another one that it would matter. The flip side of that, like something like St. George, probably not as probably not one that's going to make as much to tell you as much. But I mean, if we're going off on things that we can't do now that we want to be able to do later. Yeah, and adding
average distance
sort of sounds great.
Yeah, of being hit.
What would be cool is seeing the average distance that somebody moves in a game. Mostly because like that sort of stuff is interesting. You can kind of see like or even like map out in certain mazes the paths in which people take, because you can for newer players often tend to go to parts of the arena that nothing much is happening in, like dead spots in the maze. So if you could break down their kind of lines of travel, you could see, okay, well, you're spending a lot of time fucking around over here. Nobody's over here. Don't go over here. You want to like concentrate your attacking, or for mazes that are like zone control, you could like see how effective those players are at like controlling parts of those arenas. But
so basically, you end up generating a heat map of the maze on a per player basis.
Yeah, which would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I actually would honestly just be curious to see like how much, like what distance you're covering in a given game, because I know at the end of like a tournament day, my feet feel like I've like run a 10K, but how close is that to reality? Like how much have I actually moved? Like it's good exercise regardless, but is it close to what I'm thinking mentally, or is it like, oh no, you actually didn't run that far? It's a lot of additional movement other than running.
So I was gonna say like smartwatches and pedometers and stuff can do that basic stuff. It's how you take that information and apply it to like apply it to lasers. I was thinking as well, like if you've got the ability to see what your resupply are doing, how many, how often are they backtracking in situations, that kind of information would be really cool.
Yeah. Okay. And call out the lazy players.
Yeah, which is me. Like, I do a lot of telling people to run away.
You didn't backtrack, mate.
Yeah. Fuck. But yeah, I think that stuff is like, is that stats though? It's kind of stats. It's stats adjacent.
I mean, it's still useful data.
Yeah.
Because it
is stats adjacent. Like it is performance data.
Yeah, because they track stuff like that. I'm thinking for NBA games, for advanced stats, they have all kinds of weird things they get into. So it's the same type of thing. Like they have heat maps of the court, like where are players taking most of their shots from versus where like the most successful shots or the highest expectation shots coming in.
Yeah, I'd wear one, Russ, assuming that it gives me the same support as my regular bra. How many candy bars each player consumes?
It's called a man's ear.
Brazier, but like BRUH. Um, yeah. So yeah, that's the sort of stuff that I'd be keen to do. What else you got?
Well, sort of the flip side from assists is saves, where you put down an enemy player who's coming in before they can get to the medic. So basically, if everyone's deactivated, but then you deactivate the last player who's coming in, which could be putting down the scout or taking the last shot out of it, a 3-hit, like you prevent your medic from getting hit in that situation. So I just call that like a save.
That'd be cool. And so all the stuff could like further improve like the MVP scoring kind of stuff, right? Like if you could accurately track all this stuff, that you could implement it into the MVP stuff. So I guess that's
probably the formulas would get a little bit more complicated, but it's definitely something that could, because like ideally we would want to have a couple of advanced metrics, because MVP is kind of just like, it's mostly based on just counting stats, like how many times did you do X, and it's not really measuring whether or not someone was efficient. Like people tend to be more efficient when they get higher scores, but it's not necessarily the case for data tracking stuff. So we could have other advanced metrics that we get into, but that also might help you kind of facilitate, like if you're working with a reset partner most of the time and you're trying to work out like, okay, well, is it better on average if I leave the medic up so maybe they can take the last hit off of somebody who's coming in, or is it better to put them down before the attacker gets in and just have them run away while they're still in save time? Like what's the kind of higher expectation play? So if we could track that kind of thing, like, well, how often do you put down the person who comes in versus how much are you just maybe taking a shot out of the 3-hit but you're getting shot? And for the medic, that counts for a lot.
Is there a way with the current data we have to figure out how effective a nuke is? So by that I mean, once a nuke drops, how many lives does the medic lose during that time as a direct result of a nuke drop?
I mean, that feels like that feels like that should be relatively easy because it's a time bound thing.
Yeah.
And if we've got the actual game log, and I think that's how we're getting the stats now, like that feels very easily time based.
Yeah, I guess it depends like on where the cutoff is though, right? Like
you would just want to define it as the 8-second window after the nuke detonates, because everybody goes down at the same time. So theoretically 8 seconds later, if like nobody got in, they would all come up at the same time. Yeah. But if anybody got reset during that 8-second window, you could count that toward like nuke efficiency rating or whatever you want to call it. Like if you manage to put down the entire other team again after a nuke, like I don't know if we would call this a ratio, because I had kind of a similar thought that I called boost efficiency, which is like basically when you power boost as an ammo or medic, how many people were actually up on your team when you did it, who actually benefited from that. And I was just thinking like make it a ratio that if you have 5 teammates, basically if all 5 of them are up, then you had a 1.0 boost efficiency rating. If only 4 people got it, it's 0.8. If 3 people got 0.6, so on and so forth.
Right.
Like that. So I guess you could have sort of the same thing on the side of a nuke of, well, how many enemy players actually got reset before that 8-second window is up, when we count as like the after nuke effect. And I guess if another nuke goes off of that during that window, you reset the timer.
Yeah. Or it's accumulative, right? So
yeah, you just let it roll. If it's, god damn it, just let it roll through. If fuck off, just let it roll through. If it's a nuke chain, and even if it's a case of like people doing like the 1 or 2 second staggers, to let people intentionally let people come back up that 1 or 2 seconds. Maybe we can play with that timing as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I like both those ideas. I like both the nuke assist and the power boost efficiency.
I suppose if you're gonna like not extrapolate, if you look at it like from the wide angle, or whatever the term is. Where
Big
do
picture?
that one? Where do you where do you put the cutoff? Because like in some games, like if you nuke and then somebody runs in and flushes a resupply out of their spot, they will then continue to probably get punished, like depending on the arena or how good the resupply is. But they will probably lose more lives even after they've sort of come back up because they're so disjointed, right? But yeah, but maybe
Well, that's why I would only make it that 8 second window. Like after the nuke detonates, like how much additional damage did you get off of that deactivation? Like probably you're going to get more even after the nuke. If you really do your job, you're going to reset them a whole bunch more. But it's hard to kind of disentangle that from just the overall flow of the game. So
Yeah.
it's like we'd only want to be counting the 8 seconds after a nuke drops to okay, well, did anybody actually benefit from that?
So maybe it's like the immediate efficiency of a nuke is X, and that's the time from where the nuke detonates up until I mean, even if you wanted to track it for the medic, up until the medic reactivates, because they might go down and they might get reset and then reset again. However it kind of works. But it'd be kind of cool to pick a.
Well, you could track other metrics off of that. Like I'm again thinking like in a basketball game, the announcers will sometimes be like, oh, they just went on a a 10-2 run in the last 2 minutes of the game or something like that. So it's like we could track that. Like, oh wow, green team basically opened up like a 3,000 point gap in the 60 seconds after that nuke. So obviously that was a big turning point in the game. That was when stuff turned around. So those are the kinds of I guess side metrics you could track too.
Right. Boost efficiency for resupplies on the new site, apparently. That's kind of cool.
Oh. Okay.
Oh, I got a data tables warning. Table ID cosmetic hits Ajax error. You've got an Ajax error. Russ.
Fucking Ajax, man.
Ajax
that
error.
Guy.
Goddamn Ajax.
He really fucks things up.
Jesus Christ, Taipan had a 12,000 point heavy game last week, whenever it was the last amount of data came in. That's awesome.
Good for him.
It's a good score.
Yeah, something's wrong with your Ajax, Russ. Oh, they were playing.
Okay,
they were playing six aside too. Oh, he's looking in good.
I think
form.
that actually might have been what I wanted to check when I logged in LS Stats initially, because I thought that we'd already had a conversation about boost efficiency and stuff. So I think that's what I went on to check, and then the site was down. So I'm like, okay, well, let me just put it in my notes in case that's not a thing yet. But hey, if that's a thing, great.
Then perfect.
Look at that, Russ reading all of our minds and having it already on the site.
Casually swearing at us. Love it.
Not so casually.
Not so casually.
There's no other way to swear but casually.
Yeah, that's right.
What does formal swearing look like?
I don't know. It involves fishing. No, that's informal.
Fuck off.
Well, I wasn't talking about you or your hoodie, but
Lies.
those would be pretty cool. Did you have more?
Another one that I thought of that I would be interested to see, which this might actually be something you can capture from the game log. I don't know what to call it. I've thought of calling it a sneak attack or a 3-tap, but basically, like, how many times does a one hit manage to take down an enemy 3-hit, like shoots them 3 times and they don't get shot? So basically, it just
basically bam, clean bam, 3.
Yeah, like three in the back, because like I think of that for a 1 hit for a scout or something like that. That's sort of their version of a missile.
Yeah.
Like it's not quite as, but that's 360 points. A missile is 600 points, so it's not quite as valuable. But still, that's a really high value play from somebody like a scout. So it's like if you can take down a 3-hit without getting taken down yourself, like I would be kind of interested to see how often that's happening in a game, and if some players are inherently better at that, and maybe that would also help with newer players or even for advanced players, things to improve. Like, okay, well, are there things about position that we could work out? Like if you could work out, well, if I stand over here versus here, it's much more likely the commander is going to go by me and maybe I can just hit them 3 times in the back rather than being in their path, they have to go by me, but probably we're just going to trade 1-to-1 or maybe 2-to-1 if I'm particularly quick, something like that. But I'd rather shoot them 3 times in the back if I can.
That feels like something that, while it's obviously a more useful metric for the scouts, like if you're implementing it for scouts,
and also for ammos and medics.
Yeah, I was about to say, why, you may as well also do it for
it's for any one hit
for the resupply.
In some
I'm
ways,
just thinking it's going to be something that's more common with scouts and might be something that would be worth looking at. I mean, yeah, that's great. Like there's nothing I love more than being a medic and shooting somebody 3 times in the back, and
it is pretty,
maybe
great.
even canceling their nuke like Than did that one time.
That was pretty awesome. Not gonna lie.
In some ways, it's almost harder to do that than to get someone with a missile, because a missile you can get off a reset, but you can't get 3 hits on a 3 hit unless they're up. Really.
I was gonna say, unless you count a situation for like a resupply player where an enemy 3 hit comes in, they're down, and you hit reset off your team.
Yeah, but that's, I don't know if that's the same thing, right? That's not 3 concurrent.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think of that as the same. Like, I would also like to be able to capture that, because I don't have a formula for it, but essentially I also wanted to look at something, because one area that I feel like we don't necessarily have a lot of good stats for is defense. But that I think is true for a lot of sports. Like, even trying to come up with like defensive efficiency rating is difficult, because like, well, what exactly are you tracking? But I'd love to see something that kind of measures defensive efficiency that's maybe around stuff like saves, like how many times do you prevent the medic from getting hit, and how efficient are you being at like using your downtime and not getting reset. Like, I think of those as important defensive principles, even though like that can happen when you're on offense, like getting away after you do an attack without getting reset. But it's still kind of, it's defending your team, and it's defending your team's score in that sense. So I would still want to like have some way of factoring that in and giving a player like a defensive efficiency rating, because I feel like MVP in a lot of ways is really, what are we talking? We're mostly measuring offensive efficiency.
Of course.
Mostly what we're doing, because that's the easiest stuff to track. When are you actively scoring points and all that stuff?
Well, that's the kind of basis of laser tag, right? Is shooting other people. So it makes sense that most of the stats are going to be based on shooting the other team. Who was the best at doing that? Because that's the aim of the game. But I guess our game is, a sophisticated version of tag, so stands to reason that you would track sophisticated things like defensive shooting of other people. Maybe it's a case of you would like, if you had that proximity data, maybe it's a case of like, okay, well, we see kind of your proximity to like how close you are to your own resupply, and so you're kind of in a defensive position, and then basing the same kind of hit diff stats or whatever in a defensive capacity. Maybe that's maybe it's a little bit complicated, but
yeah, well, those kinds of metrics always would be, but I'm trying to think of like more advanced ways that we could examine the data that we have. I started a project like that a little while ago to try to add some other elements to MVP. Like, something that I've talked about with players multiple times is finding a way to incorporate hit diff into MVP, which, as I've discussed with Russ and some other people, like, hit diff is not inherently baked in, but it's indirectly baked in because it's reflective of score. And if you have a higher hit differential, your score is going to be higher than somebody else who had a similar offensive game but also got hit more themselves. So it's like, it kind of incorporates it, but we know that hit diff is even more important for some roles than others. So finding a way to like measure that against your MVP, but I still haven't found a satisfying formula that kind of balances it across positions. Like, honestly, in terms of balance in between, like how different positions get MVP, we're pretty close as far as things go. I mean, in a tournament situation, things change because the better players mostly play 3 hit and the less experienced players mostly play resup. So it's like, well, yeah, of course resupply stuff is lower because the best players are playing the other positions.
Yeah, it's almost like we've had like 12 or 13 years worth of work on the stats to, you know, smooth things out. And as we've gotten, you know, more data available to us, we've made use of that extra data. It's weird. It's weird how that works when there's
Totally.
you know, constantly iterative process of stuff.
It's totally weird.
Weird. Yeah. Russ did also make a good comment in chat around counting how many times you get reset would be easy,
Mhm.
and then adding how many times that reset led to another player getting reset. That's a stat.
Mm.
How many times did you being, you know, not quick enough to run away? How many times did that fuck one of your teammates?
How many times did one of your teammates say, "Don't give him a reset," and you say, "What?"
I had a great a great moment at Detroit where that happened. I was like the last person alive on my team, and like, yeah, the amount of times I heard Rusty be like, "Don't give him a reset," and so I was like, "What?" Black, black. So good.
There's nothing I love more.
Fuck. So good.
So, and like boost of this I know is data that we already have. We just don't have this reduced to like a single number, but I would just call it like escape efficiency or something like that. Something that would be incorporated into defense, but basically like measuring like your save time versus your reset time throughout the game. Like ideally as a player, you would like to get that ratio as close to 1 as possible, right? You never want to be reset during your reset time. But
Yep.
obviously that's never like that would be a theoretically perfect game. Nobody can ever play that, but it's like how close to 1 can you get? So that I think is useful because at least we have it broken down in the different colors now, right? How much time are you up? How much time are you down? How much time are you down reset? And that kind of stuff. And being able to show newer players that, well, look, even among the time you're down, look how much bigger that red wedge is than that yellow wedge. That means that you're not getting away, you're not getting to places you need to be, and you're being a reset too often, which is bad for you. And like Russ and Than were saying, potentially bad for your team too, because you might be fucking over some of them.
Yeah. Fuck those guys. Poor buggers. Yeah, it's there's some really cool stats. And like I guess like stats are awesome. Figuring out what to do with those stats is the next thing, right? So stats for stats sake is just, I don't know, nerd porn. But like actually having like practical applications for them is probably the key thing. Statsman is into the chat. Statsman. But yeah.
He's a stats man.
I can't think of any stats that we have that I haven't found useful at one time or another in analyzing how I think about the game, how I'm trying to illustrate stuff to teammates or teach newer players or things like that. Like all that data is useful, but like you said, it's about how you use it. And that was my whole side rant that we had about MVP on a different episode. I'm like, it's useful as a tracking measure, but if the measure becomes your target, it's not useful anymore.
Yep.
Right, because all you're doing is you're
padding for
potentially
stats.
trying to skew things that way, so you don't actually learn anything from the data. It's like, well, yeah, of course I could do that if that was the objective of the game. But the objective of the game is to beat the other team, is to outscore them, or hopefully eliminate them.
Yeah.
So we want to be able to measure how effectively you're doing that. But if you're intentionally dragging the game out so you can get more MVP, right? You're actually measuring MVP. You're not measuring how effective you were at eliminating the other team. So.
I think early on in the stats, well, in the MVP anyway, like there was a stat that, and I might be remembering it wrong. There was a stat that measured how you got MVP points for how many times you activated rapid fire.
Yes, that was there.
Yeah, and I remember being in a game in Brisbane, and watching players, you know. They've banked up 3 or 4 rapid fires. They would come back to the resupply, activate rapid, take a resupply, come back up, activate rapid fire, take a resupply. And I was like, this is bad gameplay. Like, this is driving the wrong kind of behavior.
Yeah, and because that's the other risk is like, one, if you're just doing it just to kind of like mess around and drag the game out, that's kind of your own business. But if you're actively incentivizing bad play and providing perverse incentives, then yeah, it's not a helpful
Yeah,
metric.
that's perverse stats right there. That's the dark web of stats.
Because being able to track how many times you use rapid fire in a game is useful,
Yeah,
but it's not necessarily useful applied data. So I
Yeah.
guess that gets back to what you're originally saying, right?
yeah,
That it's not just like what is the count of how many times this thing happened, but how useful is that
yeah,
for,
yeah.
for
What? Yeah.
analysis?
How did that help you win the game? And doing that kind of shenanigans is not helpful. Activating rapid fire is a privilege. Damn it! If you've got it,
It's a privilege, not a right.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Scouts got a bum rap.
Steve, we have something called the Second Amendment in this country. Rapid fire is absolutely your right.
Goodness.
Yep, he went there.
Yeah. Although they had to do with like beers or something. So it's cool to have stats. Stats are cool, but yeah, how does it help you win the game? Because that's the stop incentivizing medic abuse. That's gonna be a banner somewhere.
No, I feel like medic abuse should be incentivized.
I mean, it does help you actually win the
I'm
game.
sorry to say
So
that is useful for winning the game.
What, abusing your own medic or the team's
Abusing the other medic.
Yeah,
The enemy medic.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I'll sign up for that all day. All day. Yeah. I like these stats conversations though. I'm not a stats guy personally, but making the game making your play better is definitely a positive. Have you got any other ones?
That was it as far as the initial list that I made. I think there might have been a longer one at one point, but we're about through the hour anyway, so I think that's probably good for my list. What about you, Dan?
I mean, my was just kind of sparked off that we talked about earlier about the proximity data around how far away are people from you when you're getting shot. Because then that starts getting into things where, okay, if you are primarily getting hit on longer shots within a given arena, what's wrong with your positioning that you're getting hit by longer shots? I mean, if every time you're getting hit, it's within 15, 20 feet,
you're in combat.
okay, you're near people. It's generally face to face ish. But if you're consistently getting hit from like 40 to 50 feet, what's wrong with your positioning? And obviously in a maze like Auckland, where there are less of those long shots, again, becomes less of a usable metric as far as that goes. But for something like Brisbane, that does have a few definitely 100+ foot shots, like if we're looking at that going, oh, I am consistently getting hit from between 75 and 100 feet. Why am I consistently getting hit from 75 to 100 feet? Oh, it's because
bad, bro.
It well, but then that gets into heat mapping the arena. It's like, oh, I'm getting hit in that distance range when I am in this part of the maze. Why am I getting hit from that range in this part of the maze? Oh, it's because
they didn't cover vortex like I fucking told them to.
That too. It's like, oh, it's because there are these few angles, and then I think that starts becoming a very useful teaching tool. How you would integrate that into stats discussion. I mean, that's a whole other.
It's still useful data, though. I guess that's
data
really
itself is useful.
It's like data we wish we could have, not just stats that we wish we could have. Because I do use some of the other stuff that isn't on our stat site, but is available on scorecards to illustrate things to newer players. Like, where are you getting hit most often? So that's a breakdown by hit zones.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're getting hit in the back a lot, it's probably because your positioning is not good, or your awareness of how you're approaching certain attack angles, things like that, is not very good. You should mostly be getting hit in the front. Or, I mean, in other cases, if you're doing an analysis of a player and you see that they have way more tags against their phaser than any of their hit zone, probably means one of two things. Either one, they're walking around with it way out in front of them like this, so as they come around a corner, somebody shoots them, or they need to be a little bit better about actually getting all the way out and not this.
That's interesting.
That's also a way in which your phaser can get hit a lot. So it's not proof, but it's one of those things that you might look for, that if somebody is persistent, if a player is being told persistently, like, hey, you're not getting your shoulder out, and then you look at their last 5 games and it's like, yeah, you look, over 50% of the tags against you were on your phaser. That probably is indicative of something, if you combine that with people's observations.
Yeah. I do. I'll go back to the footage that I saw on the New Zealand Laser Sports website. There's a community here of like zone players that have been working on a top-down map live track of players in the arenas, and you can see how they kind of move around in the arena. There is some wall clipping, which is a little bit annoying, but like, you know, whatever, it is what it is. I really hope that at some point we can work that into our game.
That'd be awesome.
Before we retire.
Please, none of us are ever actually retiring. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, yeah, I guess. But yeah, like if you could work that into our game at some point in the not too distant future, I think that'll go a long way to helping to help tag become more of a spectator thing. But also, you know, you can go back and watch the replay of the footage and see how people are, you know, moving. Again, you can see how people are moving through the arena, see how they backtrack, all that sort of stuff. So
yeah, and it would help team discussions. It'd be like, I told you to cover big box. I did. No, you didn't. Well,
let's
if
have
you
a
can
look.
actually look at okay, how often was somebody in this or that position? So, yeah,
and like again with the last Nats that we played in Brisbane, like it was such an eye opener for me when Beast explains kind of where he stands as a heavy to cover which areas, and that changed the game for me. I went from having an average tournament to having a slightly better tournament.
you had a pretty good tournament, as I recall.
It was there
might be
okay.
a little piece of hardware similar to one of those over there that I think you
Oh
might have collected that week.
I think that was a fucking, you know how they give out like Oscars for like long time achiever like actors.
Hey,
Lifetime
trophy is a
achievement
trophy.
awards.
I don't care if it's a lifetime achievement or not. Trophy is a trophy.
Valid.
If they want to honor the 50 years I've put into this game, they can go right ahead.
That's so be it. Unfortunately, we got a skedaddle. We've had a bereavement in our family, so we've got to keep a tight 1 hour today. But we will be back hopefully next week. I think I'm going in for surgery this week. I think I have surgery this week, which unfortunately comes the day after the funeral. So it's gonna be an a sad / scary start to next week.
Well, hopefully there will be a positive result that comes out of the surgery.
Hopefully, I'm hoping as well. But we'll keep you guys up to date with how streams are kind of looking for next week and beyond. But there's some cool stuff coming. There's some cool stuff, and Nats is just around the corner. Boy, oh boy, I'm excited. It's gonna be sweet. Is there anything you guys want to say before we call it a day?
I mean, just passing our best on to you and Dan, and
yeah, thanks.
Hopefully,
same.
Because obviously, we all love Dan because she's awesome. And then hopefully your surgery also goes smoothly.
You guys will probably be one of the first to know. If they let me
Valid.
live stream it, no.
Please don't.
Well, good luck with your tournament. I hope you catch a dog of a cunt. It'd be fucking awesome if you do. Let us know. Send us a photo. But for this week, I have been Guy Next Door.
I've been DK.
And I've been Van.
Always remember to sign up for VDO.Ninja, kids. We will hopefully see you next week. Ka kite anō.
Video Ninja, give us free stuff.
I've been throwing daggers in the night. I've been chasing all the stars, stealing all their lights. The cut so sharp, cut so deep. If they seem to hit their target, must be what we reap. 'Cause you don't know what I know. You don't feel the way I feel. All these places I wanna